Error type 3 condition clauses. I said type 1 agreement, type 2 tenses, type 3 condition clauses. For you to understand the logic of condition clauses, I like to give you examples which you have done in school days, so that through the known examples you can very easily remember the logic which I want to convey. Example 1. Look at this sentence. You would have seen this example umpteen times. If you work hard, you will pass. This is a known example. I am using this example to help you to understand the logic in much better manner. If you work hard, you will pass. This is a sentence. Of course, this is an example under conditional clauses. When you have such sentences, the logic that you should remember is, when you have simple present tense in if clause, the main clause must be in simple future. Remember this idea alone, this is sufficient. When you have simple present tense in if clause, the main clause must be in simple future. The same sentence can be written like this: you will pass if you work hard. Even if the sentence is inverted, the logic which I emphasized doesn't change. I said if you use simple present tense in if clause, main clause must be in simple future. Remember the logic alone. Either you may get a sentence beginning with if clause, or the if clause may occur at the later part of the sentence. In other words, if clause can be placed either at the beginning of the sentence or at the end of the sentence. Whichever way it is placed, the meaning of the total sentence will not undergo any change. Point number 1 to be noted. If clause can be either placed at the beginning or at the end, and irrespective of its positions, either at the beginning or at the end of the sentence, the if clauses or the position of if clauses doesn't make any change to the meaning of the entire sentence. Keep this in your mind. Second, the logic that we are discussing is irrespective of its position. We are not bothered whether the if clause occurs at the beginning or occurs at the end. The reason, because we are not framing the sentences, we will be given questions, or the examiner is the one who sets it. So remember this logic. If you have simple present tense in if clause, the main clause must be in simple future. Remember this logic enough. There are 2 more logic to be remembered. Note it. The first case is done. Now I like to take you to the second case. Look at this example. If I were a bird, I would fly. I am deliberately using the example which you have done in school. The logic to be remembered is, instead of simple present tense, if we use simple past tense in if clause, or the main clause must be would plus, we call it present indefinite. Don't get confused when I say present indefinite. You could easily remember write, wrote, written, speak, spoke, spoken, fly, flew, flown. We call the first category present indefinite, the second category past tense, the third category past participle. So I am not using any new technical word. Present indefinite form. Make it simple. It is, when you are aware of the verb form, certainly you could easily say the first thing. You will start with the present indefinite, then we'll go for past tense, then past participle. So for second conditional clause, remember this verb idea alone. That is, if we use simple past tense in if clause, the main clause must take would plus present indefinite form. Now I like to ask you an interesting question. Identify a known grammatical rule which has been violated in the given example. Am I checking your patience? Not at all. If you want a clue, I like to give you a clue. till now we have discussed and we have completed 2 error types. If you remember those 2 error types, you can very easily identify the grammatical rule being violated in this sentence. Yes, I believe you got it. We know error type 1 says when the subject is singular, verb should be singular. But in this sentence, here the subject is singular, if I, but there is a violation. Here plural form has been used. You have to note this idea in your mind. I will say why. For you to understand the reason for violation better, you should look for the meaning of the sentence. If I were a bird, I would fly. What does this sentence mean? Well, this sentence expresses inability. It means, or it talks about a situation which cannot happen. In other words, this discusses a condition which we call it improbable, a condition which will never happen. With the meaning of the sentence, I like to take you to the topic that we are discussing. We are discussing condition classes. You can understand the logic slightly better. When we discuss or when you wanna express an action which cannot happen, then the sentence should take improbable conditional form. Whenever you wanna discuss a situation which will never happen, such expressions will take improbable conditional form. If you look at the previous example, you can easily understand condition classes much better. First case is called probable condition. When I call this probable condition, that moment itself, it would make you understand the logic why I call it probable condition. I call this probable condition because it talks about a condition which will happen. If you work hard, you will pass. If it rains, the match will be cancelled. Whenever you discuss a possibility which will happen, it is called a probable condition, and probable conditionals has specific verb form. Second case, whenever you discuss a situation or a condition which will never happen, you would express it in improbable condition, and the verb form is the if clause must be in past tense. Additional, irrespective of the verb, the if clause must take plural form. Keep that in your mind. If clause must be in past tense and the main clause would be would plus present indefinite form. For you to attain better clarity, I'll give you one more example to elucidate why this particular verb must be in plural. Look at this example. If I were the Prime Minister, I would allot more funds for R&D. With the very meaning of the sentence, we can understand we are expressing a condition which is completely imaginary, or we are expressing a condition which will never happen. If I were the Prime Minister, you have to say if I were, meaning you are making a imaginary guess. This has to be in plural. You cannot say if I was a Prime Minister. What would happen if you say if I was a Prime Minister? It may indicate that you had been Prime Minister once. So to arrest such unnecessary doubt, this particular condition clause assumes the word form, and irrespective of the subject, whether it is singular or plural, the verb form will take plural form in past tense. That alone you need to remember. The other logic you can very easily find it from the earlier example. Now, in total there are 3 conditionals. Condition 1 is called probable, meaning it will talk about a condition which will happen. Condition number 2 is called improbable, which will discuss a condition which will never happen. In total, there are only 3 conditionals, of which I discussed 2. One is probable, meaning will happen. Second is called improbable, meaning will not happen. Then can you guess on the third condition? Your guess is right. Third one is called less probable condition, meaning it may or may not happen. Now, for the third condition, there is a separate verb form. Let's look at the example first. If you had invited me for the party, I would have attended it. The verb form to be noted is if class must take past perfect tense, and the main class would be in would plus have plus past participle. This is the verb form for the third condition. There is another interesting point to be remembered for the third condition. Throughout this discussion, especially when I discussed condition classes, I use the word if classes. We call it either condition classes or we call it if classes. The very name itself suggests the word if is quite evident in the given sentences, or many a time you would identify the given sentence belongs to condition class with the use of the word if. That logic has an exception, meaning the third condition can be written without using the word if. Look at this example. The same example, written it in different way without using the word if. Instead of writing if you had invited me for the party, we can also write it this way. Had you invited me for the party, I would have attended it. There isn't any change in the tense forms. The dependent class takes past perfect tense. The independent class takes a verb form would plus have plus past participle. There isn't any change in the verb form, but the sentence structure undergoes a change. And please note, the word if is absent. This is possible. We can make out a conditional class without the word if only for the third condition. For probable and improbable condition, it cannot be possible to write a sentence without if. So, the third condition alone may have the word if or may not. Keep these idea. This will help you to understand the condition classes much better. And another interesting aspect is, in any spotting error question, at least 5% of the total questions will definitely have questions on condition classes, and trying to spotting the error in condition classes is a cakewalk, which you would realize it for yourself when you do examples. For you to sum up and remember the idea better, I like to provide you a tabular column. Just have a look at this tabular column. We know there are only three conditionals: probable, improbable, less probable, which means the if class can take only three tense forms. Either it could be simple present, or it could be simple past, or it could be past perfect. Remember this logic alone. And once you create or remember this tabular column, the idea of subsequent logic becomes much easier. Whenever you have simple present tense in if class, main class must be in simple future. Whenever you have simple past tense in if class, you must have a verb form which should take would plus present indefinite form. Whenever you have past perfect tense form in if class, the main class must be would plus have plus past participle. Remember this tabular column. You are on a spotting error sentence. As long as you remember this tabular column, identifying the error will not take more than 5 seconds time, because since the given sentence is split into 4 segments, either they have to distort the verb forms in if class, or they have to distort the verb forms in the main class. When you remember the verb forms for both if class and main class, with the help of one, you can find the other. You can check it from the examples. We are going to do few examples. In addition, do practice few more questions. You would understand how my explanation helps you to ask these questions much faster. So once you understand the logic, solving questions on condition classes is a child's play. I'll take you through a couple of questions through which you can easily understand that you're getting answers in split seconds. Let's look at this question. If I was you, I would not attend the function. If you remember the patterns, please focus on certain indicators. Is there a word if in the given sentence? Then it's very much a condition class. You know, there are only three condition classes: probable, improbable, or less probable. You try to find out which condition it belongs to. If I was you, I would not attend the function. First, let's try to go by the meaning. Does it talk about a condition which will happen? No. Does it talk about a condition which will never happen? Yes. If I was you, it's gonna happen. It will never happen. So we know that by the meaning of the sentence, we know that this sentence belongs to improbable condition. Remember the verb structure. For improbable condition, the verb pattern must be, the if clause must be in simple past tense, and the verb form will always be in plural form. It's very simple. Answer for this question is A. The correction is, instead of was, you need to use were. Let me take you through the indicators alone. There is a word if, which means the given sentence must be a condition clause. Try to find out which condition it talks about. If fuel prices keep increasing. So the if clauses indicates that this must be a probable condition, because if the fuel prices keep increasing, it uses simple present tense in if clause. Simple. If we use simple present tense in if clause, we know that the main clause must be in simple future. Now, within no time, you can easily spot the error. The error lies in segment B. The correction is, the public will revolt against. Question number 11, the answer is B. The correction is, the public will revolt against the government. Look at this question. I'm not going to say anything for few moments. I want you to try to find out the answer. The question reads, he would not have done the job if he would not have heard the news. Do you find this question to be slightly challenging? Probably yes, because you have been used to find the if clause at the beginning of the sentence. But remember, I told you while I explained the very first class that if clause can be placed either at the beginning of the sentence or at the end of the sentence. You may tend to forget, or usually when you get questions on condition classes, if the test is of less competitive nature, you would have questions beginning with if clauses. If the exam that you're appearing is slightly challenging, then the if clause may occur at the end of the sentence, as in this question. My advice is, do not worry whether you have if clause at the beginning or if clause at the end. Try to apply the verb patterns. You know very well the if clause can take only three verb patterns. Either it could be simple present tense, or it could be simple past tense, or it could be past perfect. Now read the if segment. If he would not have heard, can be very sure the error lies in B segment, because we will never use the word would after if. Make it very simple. If clause can take only simple present tense, or simple past tense, or past perfect. Therefore, what could be the correction here? The answer is B. Correction is, if he had not heard the news. We're able to spot the error for this question almost immediately. Yes, you're right. We know if clause can take only three verb patterns: simple present tense, or simple past tense, or past perfect. Therefore, the word would or word could will never appear in if clause. Remember that idea. That will help you to spot the error much faster. For this question, the answer is A. The correction is, if I had worked regularly. While you read this question, does it help you to remember any point while we discussed this concept of condition classes? Probably you would remember this sentence hasn't used the word if. Just beware. Had I known you were coming, I would stay at home. That's what the question is. Look at this sentence. While you look at it, does it help you to remember an idea which I gave you as an additional point to be remembered? Yes, this one involves a condition without the word if. If you could notice this sentence, in this sentence, there is no word if. Do not worry, just remember the meaning of the sentence. Had I known you were coming. So this segment involves past perfect tense. So which is an indication this is a less probable condition. Had I known you were coming, what would be the verb form in main clause? If clause takes past perfect tense, the main clause must be in would plus have plus past participle. You apply this here, very easily you can spot it out. The error lies in segment C. The correction is I would have. Question number 14, answer is C. I just want to emphasize, you can go through the concept once again, remember the tabular column and try to apply it on the questions. You can be very sure that you are getting answers right. And most importantly, you will be finding it that you are getting answers in almost less than 10 or 20 seconds. Next error type, comparison of the entire spotting error question types. This is the simplest one. So I'm sure that you would remember it. When you get a question like this, Gandhiji is one of the most respected leaders in the world. While you read it, you can easily understand the given question is in superlative form. The clue that you have to pick is when you have one of the in the sentence, just observe closely the corresponding noun. One of the most respected, it should be leaders. Whenever you have one of the, it itself suggests that you are referring to one among the group. So the corresponding noun should be in plural form. This alone you please remember. And this is one of the most frequent question type in spotting errors. If you need further clarification, the same sentence means of many respected leaders in the world, Gandhiji is one of them. The meaning of the sentence can be changed like this. If we say Gandhiji is the most respected leader in the world, here when there is no one of the most respected leader in the world, it has to be in singular form. Reason, even though there are many leaders in the world, of them Gandhiji is the most respected. Now you can easily remember the difference between these two sentences, but particularly this is where you need to remember, when you have one of the in the spotting error question, just immediately look for the corresponding noun. The noun must be in plural. Next rule in comparison. Third logic, I like to explain it through example. When we say Apple is superior to Samsung, this sentence involves a comparison and this comparison is valid. How can we say this? Because here this sentence compares one absolute with another absolute. The sentence is valid or the comparison is valid. For the same sentence, if I make a change, if I say the operating system or OS of Apple is superior to Samsung, this sentence becomes incorrect. Why? You can take 10 seconds time, try to find the logical flaw in it. Hope you would have got it. Anyhow, I'll explain. When you compare the operating system of Apple, you should compare it with the operating system of Samsung. So the meaning should be the OS of Apple is superior to the OS of Samsung. Meaning wise. Structure wise, it would be the OS of Apple is superior to that of. Remember this idea alone. I'll explain. The moment you read a sentence, you can understand. This sentence involves a comparison. If it involves a comparison, make it simple whether it compares an absolute with another absolute or an aspect with similar aspect. This is very, very crucial. If the given sentence is comparing an aspect, it has to be compared with the similar aspect. Rather, if it compares an absolute, it can be compared with another absolute. If you compare Apple, it can be compared with any other brand, Samsung or Nokia or any other brand. But if you compare the OS of Apple, then it should be compared to the OS of any other brand. This alone you remember. That's the third logic. And if you remember these three logic, the first one, whenever you have one of in the sentence involving a comparison, you have to ensure the corresponding noun should be plural form. The second logic is, usually we use the word than in comparative form. This has an exception. That is when you make a comparison using prefer, superior, inferior, senior and junior, instead of than, two should be used. Or the third logic to be remembered in comparison is, the moment you identify the given sentence is a comparison, just look for the elements of comparison. Elements of comparison, if an absolute is compared, it should be compared with another absolute. If it is an aspect, it should be compared with similar aspect. If you remember these three concepts, you can answer any question related to this error type called comparison. Let's try to solve few questions to understand the logic better. Look at this sentence. Kingsley is one of the most brilliant student in our college. As and when you complete reading the sentence, you understand this involves a comparison. One of the most brilliant, that is the clue. Immediately look for the corresponding noun. It has to be in plural. So within no time, we have identified the error. The error lies in segment C. The correction is students. One of the must be followed by plural noun. Next question. The batting techniques employed by the Australian cricket team are far more effective than the Indian team. There is a word than. Even otherwise, the meaning of the sentence suggests that this sentence involves a comparison. Now, this is where you have to be slightly careful. Just check whether this given sentence comparing an absolute or an aspect. In other words, are we comparing cricket team, Australian cricket team with Indian cricket team, or are we comparing batting techniques of Australian cricket team with Indian cricket team? When you look closer, you can understand and spot the error quickly. We are comparing batting techniques of the Australian cricket team. It has to be compared with the batting techniques of the Indian team. We can't compare the batting techniques with the Indian team as such. So we are very sure the error lies in segment C. This is more than sufficient. You have spotted the error, and from the examination point of view, you have answered the question. If you like to know the correction should be than those of the Indian team. Than those of. When I explained you this logic, I gave you this example. The OS of Apple is superior to Samsung, and the correction we made is, since we are comparing the OS, the operating system, it has to be compared with the operating system of Samsung. Thereby the correction I said is superior to that of. You may have a doubt, when should we use the word that and when should we use the word those? Make it simple. If the element of comparison is singular, you would use than, that of. If the element of comparison is plural, you would say than, those of. We're able to understand? Most probably, you won't be having a question to check the difference between than, that of, or than, those of. That is very much unlikely. Usually, you will have a question involving comparison, and when you have it, just ensure whether the element of comparison are balanced, and this is how you would check it out. Next question. You try to figure out in this sentence where lies the error. It was generally agreed that the speeches of the Prime Minister were better than the ministers. Look closely, you would understand we are not comparing the Prime Minister with the minister, rather we are comparing the speeches of the Prime Minister with the speech of the minister. So I don't think it wouldn't take more than 10 seconds for you to spot the error. The error lies in segment C. The correction is, here the speech is plural form. Therefore, the correction should be than those of the ministers. I believe you are finding it very easy and you love to solve these questions using this logic. Next question. The girl said that she preferred the blue gown than the pink one. Is there a comparison? Yes. Now, how is this comparison made? There has been the word preferred used. The idea to be remembered is, whenever a comparison is made using the word prefer, superior, inferior, senior, junior, we know that the word than should not be used, the word to should be used. For this question, the error lies in segment C. Even though Sarah is senior than me in service, I believe we can stop reading the question here, because there is a comparison being made using the word senior, and we know it for sure the word than is wrong. Therefore, the error lies in segment A. It should be senior to me. How do you find answering questions and spotting errors using the logic? I believe you are finding it a cakewalk. Like this, we'll solve other question types also. We are done. comparison. Now look at this question. Just by looking at it, you can answer it if you could remember the error types that we have discussed so far. Take a moment's time. The question reads, a physiologist in the last century demonstrated that puppies will die if kept awake for more than 5 days. This question can be solved through two different logic. Let me wait whether you are able to pick it. Probably you would have answered it right. Let me give the most striking clue. A physiologist in the last century. You have a time indicator in the sentence. So remember, this is error type 2 tenses, where when the sentence carries a time indicator, very well we can decide the tense. The moment we understand that this sentence belongs to past tense, very quickly we can spot the error. We can say for this question, the error lies in segment B. The correction is, instead of will die, it should be would. But what I would say is, the moment you understand the sentence carries a time indicator last century, you are 200% sure that this sentence will never carry the word will. This is more than sufficient. Probably I would say maximum time would be 10 seconds for you to answer this. I said this question can be solved through two different logic. One is error type 2 tenses, that is, you read a sentence and as you read, you bump on a time indicator. This says last century and you are very sure the word will never occur. This is one way of solving the question. There is another logic, learn that too. You are reading a sentence. A physiologist in the last century demonstrated that puppies will die if. Does it strike you, or do you think the sentence carries a clue? Because the sentence carries the word if in it. The moment you find the word if, try to associate this idea with conditional clauses, because we know that sentences that test you the concept of conditional clauses most probably would carry the word if. And here you have an easy clue. The word if is there. All you need to remember is you need to find out which condition it talks about. There are only three conditions. One is probable condition. Second one is improbable condition. Third one is less probable condition. And if you remember the verb pattern of these three conditions, your time consumption for this question reduces drastically. Look here. If kept awake. Kept, which tense is this? Keep, present tense. Kept, past tense, right? Whenever we use simple past tense in F class, the main class must be, for example, I said, if I were a bird, I would fly. So the main class would be would die. The error is in segment B. Instead of will die, it should be would die. The logic to be remembered is condition classes improbable condition because your past tense in if clause. What I want to tell you is, once you get thorough with these error types, you can solve the questions much faster and more accurately, and it doesn't matter which logic you apply. Either you solve this through the logic that we have learned through the error type tenses, or whether you are solving it through condition classes. Does it help you to solve the question? That is all you should look at it. Next question.